And there it is. Okay, there we go. Now, how's Rumble doing? Let's make sure that's fine. Looks like that's fine. Yep, that's fine. Okay, I guess we're fine on both now. Okay, sorry about that. Jeez Louise, man. Once again, problem after problem. Oh, look, I got YouTube chat back on my back on OBS. That's good. Anyway, so I mean, the point is that we've got this deal that everybody's been dreaming of going on in the Middle East. We've got the places where the National Guard has been deployed to the United States, like in D.C., where it went from a place where no one wanted to walk around outside because they're afraid of getting murdered or assaulted or robbed at gunpoint or, who knows what else, to a drastic decrease in crime to the point that people are a lot more comfortable walking around outside again, and it should be that way in the nation's freaking capital. But despite all the pushback, the mayor, Muriel Bowser, was had to admit that yes, there was an effective response and there was a drop in crime, and it's like, yeah, we knew that, and it was stupid to argue against it, but glad you know now. So there's that. Then there was, there's been tons of things going on, except for the shutdown. But once again, the shutdown, I haven't really get to discuss that, and that's not what this episode's about either. We'll be going over in great detail, don't worry, the Democrat incompetency of the political strategy they're attempting to employ right now. I've never seen something so absolutely stupid in my life as the kind of plan that they think is going to be so successful right now. This is absolutely incredible that they're at a level where they think that this, and the best part is how people have been pulling up the clips of. I had to watch this. I had to suffer through this shit of these people coming out time after time after time scolding Republicans about how responsible leaders are not the ones who will shut down a government. They aren't the ones who would allow the government to just not serve the people due to some partisan argument that they're having in the halls of the legislative branch. Yeah, I know. Isn't that the case? Isn't that true? Isn't it just so irresponsible for leaders who are too far up their own ass to, just admit that what they're doing is not to help anybody and it's only to help their political ambition. That really sucks. It sucks when that happens. And man, geez, and yet, but I got to say, probably somebody. So it looks like they're coming out with more egg on their face than anybody in this whole thing. Is that, as I heard him described by a guy I've talked about on this channel before, Black Conservative Perspective. I think this is the most appropriate name for the guy. Discount Obama or Dollar Store Obama or, just some kind of low rent Obama. I think he also wants to come off as a more, this is the funniest part, I think he wants to come off as a more hardcore, tough Obama, because in just a minute I'm going to show you something that is, in fact, how about I do that part right now, because this part's funny. I think I have this clip. Let me just make sure I have it, because I'm sure you've seen all of these before, but or actually, you know what? I have to make sure of something really quick, so hang on just a second, because I want to make sure that it's not just the part that comes after his pitch for why he's a tough guy, but the part afterward that kind of shows what a freaking idiot he is. But I think it's right. Hmm. Oh, maybe I don't have that one. I could have sworn I had that one. Oh, it might be in a different folder because I was going to use it on something else. Oh, it was going to be an intro though. So if it was going to be an intro, it would be. Let me see if I can find it based on that. Yo, what's up, Jay? How's it going, man? Jeez. Um, Jeez, I want to show this. This is funny as hell, too. Hmm. How'd you like that? Did you get to see that intro clip, by the way? And if you did, just real serious question: do you think that Sailor Moon promotes lesbian and transgender ideology? I'm just curious, because the Asian guy that asked Ben Shapiro, I think he may be onto something, although I hate to admit it because there's a couple Super Nintendo fighting games for Sailor Moon that are actually pretty good, and I never paid much attention to the show and don't know really much at all about the story, but the fighting games are pretty good. Yeah, I guess I don't have it here. Bummer. Well, I'll just paraphrase. Because after President Trump put out a pretty hilarious meme of the two quote unquote leaders of the Democrat Party. Unfortunately for these guys, it didn't work out too well because after Discount Obama had gone up and made this big speech about how because of this evil meme that President Trump put out suggesting, I don't know, that Hakeem Jeffries is actually a secret Mexican who loves mariachi music or something. I don't know. That was so strong and so terrible that he came out and he said with strong conviction and absolute alpha male pose, "Next time you have something to say to me, don't say it behind closed doors. Say it to my face." And then everybody starts going wild, like, "Yeah, go Hakeem, yeah." And then he says it again, "Say it to my face," because he always had, you got to double down on that to make it really sink in, because he's such a pussy that you wouldn't believe him in the first place. As a matter of fact, speaking of how much of a pussy he is, that was actually displayed on full and total open forum for every journalist in D.C. to see, by a Republican in the House of Representatives. I can't remember what state he's from, but his name is I think it's Mike Lawler. I know it's Senator Lawler, but basically, the funniest part about this, a lot of people don't know this because there's no context. Because before anything happens, Hakeem's good question. They're hanging in there. There's been some ups and downs, but they're all right. That's the best I can say right now because there's been some rough stuff going on for everybody, but they're all right. So but anyway, I'm sure I have this. I know I have this clip because I made sure to save this. It was just too funny to see this. Oh, you know what? I think I was in the wrong. No, I was in the wrong folder. I was in. Hmm. Hmm. I hope I didn't end up putting this in the wrong spot. Jeez, this sucks. I had a bunch of examples of things that were funny and good and interesting to see, and I can't find them. I had to have put them somewhere else. They may be in. They may be in here actually. Just give me a couple seconds just to check. If I don't have them, I don't have them. But they would have been really fun. I wanted to have some funny stuff because we're going to get into the heavy stuff pretty soon. But I wanted to have some funny stuff, damn it. Yeah, I didn't want this all to be super serious. But if I don't have my funny clips, I do have some funny clips. But if I don't have my main funny clips, I can't play them. So there's no way they're out here, is there? No, I guess not. They're not there. Oh, wait, what was that? No, they're not there. Oh, you know, it may have happened. I think maybe. Oh, but wait a minute. Hold on. There's no way, because I know for a fact that I did that one because it was just a small part of. Actually, you know what? Here, I have a better idea. I know exactly where it is, so I can just bring up the clip from the video I clipped it out of because it's all in order, so I can just do it like this. So this is tough guy Hakeem Jeffries, and I think the other clip from the hallways in Congress, I believe that one is in another clip I have here, but that one might be a little bit harder to find. Well, it's not important. I'll just here. Let me just do this one first, and we'll get this out of the way because this is just too good. And I swear, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, so it's not like I'm going to be breaking any news or anything, or not showing you guys. Yep. Here we go. This is it. Does this end on the right spot? Okay, perfect. Yep, it's right at the beginning, and there's no issue. Okay. All right, here we go. So, you want to see what got Hakeem Jeffries so angry that he was basically challenging Donald Trump to say it to his face so that they could settle this like men, and maybe he'd pull a Joe Biden, and he'd take him out behind the bleachers and give him a good ass whooping, because Joe Biden was really ready to throw down. He was ready to get square up and just take Trump down to the mat and just start wailing on him, because if his bones were not brittle enough, were not so brittle that they could withstand the force of all of that tough work. Maybe Trump would have been in trouble. I don't know. But let's look at the threatening nature of Hakeem Jeffries, and why you don't want to mess with discount Obama. Otherwise, you might just end up on the receiving end of this. Racist. Yeah. Well, see, there's a problem there. I don't know if you ever will be back in the Oval Office because I don't know if he really even gives a shit. No. Anyway, so yeah, that's what caused Discount Obama to flip his shit, and then Senator Schumer kind of flips his shit. Although he doesn't really have much to offer except for the excuse he gives being that the the this is all the work of that right leaning partisan publication, the New York Times. And as he says that, basically, any Republican that's on the floor starts laughing so hard that it gets picked up on all the mics in the entire freaking house. What is that room where you vote for everything? I guess they just call it the floor. But anyway, so. Yeah, this has been what's been going on. While then that leads us to the shutdown, where they have lied consistently about what's going on, and I mean this has just been the ongoing lie that they've stuck with for pretty much the entire time. I mean the entire time, going back to like before Trump was even president. Actually, this has been the excuse of taking away health care. And so going back to the last thing I was talking about with Senator Lawler, a lot of you might not actually know this because, like I said, Discount Obama didn't really give him a chance to even say anything before he came out angry as hell and ready to throw down and ready to insult him. He thought it was such a brutal insult to be like, did your boss put you up to this? Did your boss put you up to this? It's like, your boss, the president, did he put? And Senator Lawler was like, no, the president didn't put me up. No, he put me up to this. I can't. And the thing is that he's not coming with the CR to vote for it, because here's the thing: people don't even know this if they aren't following it, and if Democrats, even if they are following it, they don't know it anyway because they have no idea and they don't understand anything. But, and by Democrats, I mean the people that would vote for AOC and Zoran Mamdani and, the socialists of the party. I don't mean the average Democrats. I mean the people that are so insane. They wanted Chuck Schumer to shut the government down because this is a show of strength, to go against everything you have said before was such a strong principle. And by the way, the whole filibuster thing that they implemented, that thing where you have to get 60 votes instead of just a regular majority of the votes in the Senate to be able to pass something. During the time period where Joe Biden was president and they had control of the House and the Senate, they actually argued, and if what they've said is not ridiculous enough, this was their argument. Right now, the Republicans are relying on the filibuster, which is nothing more than a racist relic of Jim Crow, to block our good faith attempt to bring health care to all the Americans that really need it in this time of this global pandemic that's killing people. Fast forward to this administration, they have already used the filibuster twice to attempt to block bills. And this time, they successfully did, although the irony on this one is that the first time it was just before they were attempting to try to pass the Big Beautiful Bill, which was going to be a reconciliation package, which meant that when you do reconciliation, there's certain rules involved, but you don't have to get more than 50 votes. You can just pass it with 50. Now, during that speech earlier this year, mind you, literally like in April, he was saying, we're not going to let the conservatives and their extreme policies force us to do the wrong thing. The only right thing to do is to approve of this continuing resolution to continue to fund the government, so that we can work out the rest of the detail. Blah blah blah. You know, like he's up there defending it. And now why is he out against it? Well, because the New York the political scene in New York is been flipped on its head since Mamdani, and since the Democrats recognize that it may be one of the most polarized states in the country, and not just because of the fact that the Democrats are lunatics who would attempt to prosecute a former Marine who was trying to protect people on a train or a subway train car that were being threatened by this big black dude who was obviously out of his mind, either on some kind of substance or from some sort of brain damage or some kind of mental illness he was suffering from. Regardless, he was a serious danger, saying he didn't care if he went to prison, he was going to kill somebody. So the Marine restrained him, and several other passengers helped him restrain him, and they were trying their best to keep this guy from hurting anybody. And after they finally got him to a location and position where he was no longer a threat, and he released the hold, he realized he wasn't breathing, and a lot of people don't tell this part of the story. This guy, Jordan Neely, who was the black guy who was threatening everybody, as he was dying, or may have already been dead, I guess, the Marine, Daniel Penny, attempted to resuscitate him. He performed CPR, and apparently this guy had been on the streets forever. He didn't bathe, he didn't clean, nothing, and so he smelled horrible. So he had that guy rolling all over on top of him for about an hour, and then he's giving him CPR, and it's like this guy went to every length possible to make sure he protected people, and it's clear he didn't intend to kill the guy. And yet, because that case was decided in favor of that recognition of fact, to be quite honest, that just was further proof of the evil racist people in the country. And so we need more extreme people on the left to come in and save the day, because well, we can't have people saved on a bus, and don't even get me started on Irina Zarutska. I'm going to talk about that, and oh boy, I got some things to say about that. That's really fucking pissing me off. That whole thing is a disgrace. It's fucking despicable. And the most egregious part of the whole thing, which no one in the leftist media wants to talk about, no one on the left in any news show wants to highlight the fact that as he's walking up and down the train car with a knife dripping in her blood, and as she's dying with nobody on the fucking bus or the train that even can muster up the fucking balls to go over and check on this poor girl to see if she's even still breathing, if she's still alive, if there's still a chance. This guy's walking up and down the train saying, "Got that white girl, got that white girl." Yeah, you did. You proud of that, you piece of shit? You happy about that? You so excited about that, huh? I just, like, But yeah, the evil white people are all to blame for all of it. It's all the evil white people and their rhetoric that's inflaming everything. I've been blown away by the brazen embrace of just more and more extreme rhetoric and policy and just every single thing that they're willing to do, regardless of reality, regardless of what we have on in front of us. And there's just been this. It's crazy. It's almost like. I mean, you can almost, if it wasn't so disgusting and depressing, you almost could laugh because of how insane it is. Because these were the people that were complaining about how conservatives are always trying to make up some wild conspiracy theory about the government that's unfounded and has no basis in fact. It's like no basis in fact, like the laptop from hell, or like all the Twitter files, or like all like everything that was uncovered, things about James Comey that have come to light recently, things about the things that whistleblowers said about Merrick Garland and about Alejandro Mayorkas and the DHS and the DOJ, and it's like all of it. And they're the liars, and they're the ones that are spreading misinformation and all these mistruths and all this other crap. So that's going to bring us to nicely to what I think we can focus on as the main crux of what's going on. So as things have started to move into the season of Trump's administration that's really going to count, meaning, like we're moving into the time where everybody's gearing up for the midterms, and I'll just tell you right now, I am scared to death that I hate to say it like that, but I really am. I'm actually scared that if the Democrats are able to take control of the House again during Trump's second term in office, what are we going to see? I can tell you exactly what we're going to see. We're going to see the same thing we saw when they had the House, and in his first administration, and disregard for the Senate, disregard for bipartisanship, disregard for anything like that. Like, how they're always calling for bipartisanship now because they're not in the majority. But when they're in the majority, they couldn't care less about bipartisanship. In fact, bipartisanship is just it's probably another Jim Crow relic, to be honest. But they're going to spend every single second of his second half of his elected term with some kind of charges that they're going to be using as a motive to impeach. And they're going to be bringing out all of the lunatics, and they're going to be bringing out all of these people. Like, I mean, look at the people they've had in the past. They had E. Jean Carroll. Man, she was a real winner, wasn't she? And then they had Stormy Daniels, and another real winner that really freaking flipped anyone's perception on Trump into wow, he really is a terrible person. It's just we all know it's going to happen. The question is, are people willing to allow that to be the focus of the? Because to me, to be honest, the legislative branch is becoming so far removed from what it was intended to be by our founding documents and by the articles of the articles of the Constitution, that it's almost like we're reaching a point where we either need to seriously think about how to rework the way that the both what do you call that? Both chambers of the Senate, both chambers of Congress both both geez, the House of Representatives and the Senate, both pieces of the legislative man, I can't talk. The legislative branch. Um, we're getting to a point where it's just so obvious now that they have no interest in actually, passing laws that are beneficial to the American people. And I didn't even get to finish this part. What Mike Lawler was trying to show Hakeem Jeffries was exactly one of the things that he'd been wanting all the time. He wanted a negotiation on extending the Obamacare subsidies. That was one of the things, aside from the free Medicare or Medicaid or both or everything or who knows what for all the illegals. And that's always going to be a hard no. There's no way that the administration or the Republicans in the legislative branch are going to agree to that. However, if you want to try to reach some sort of compromise with Obamacare by even though every conservative doesn't like it, like that's kind of the point of reaching reaching some sort of understanding about this sort of thing. Like you have to do some things that you're just going to be unable to do, and you're going to have to do some things that you absolutely have to do in order to be able to get the result you want. So, instead of listening to Mike Lawler and realizing that he's trying to get bipartisan support for extending the Obamacare subsidies. He thought that he would be waving around the continuing resolution in front of his face when, honestly, what goddamn sense does that make considering I'm going to try... Okay, hold on. What sense does that make when that's already passed the House? The House already passed the continuing resolution. The only reason it's being held up is because of the Senate. And because there aren't just... We've got John Fetterman, bless him, because, geez... He's the only person in that whole freaking party on that branch of government that actually operates in good fucking faith on anything. It's unbelievable. John Fetterman, the only one. And there was like one other two others that came up because of course Rand Paul came out and did his usual shtick of voting against the continuing resolution, even though. It's I get it. It's a principled thing, and he does it every time. But you could pretty much do the math by that point and recognize where each side needs to more or less really come down on, and so that's a good point to kind of move into. Why I'm so angry, and that's part of it. But there's a much bigger part of it, and I got to say, it's fueled by all the BS that's going around and all the statements that are used not just by elected officials and their partisan ends for re-election, but by so many quote unquote journalists in the media who have no qualms whatsoever in stating things that are just on their face, even by just looking at the statement, sounds so absolutely divorced from reality in every single way that there's no way you could possibly take it as anything but a joke. And yet, here they are going on and on and on. And it's always like, if you listen to the times they're asked by different anchors on different news broadcasts, if they're and here's the thing too, they'll only go on the shows where they know it's a friendly setting, where they know for a fact that they're going to get softball questions throughout the whole interview. They're not going to get any pushback on any stupid policies they have. They're just going to have no problems whatsoever with being able to just twist the facts of everything to make it seem like we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing. We're just like, which is why I couldn't for a little while figure out how in the hell are they able to get all of the Democrats at the Pentagon? Is it because it's the Pentagon? It's like, no, it's not because of that. In fact, that's who knows. Wow. Anyway, so these are the kinds of things that are really pissing me off because they'll get these softball questions and their solution for everything, their answer for everything, how they're going to get back the trust of the American people, how they're going to advocate for the policies that are going to help the communities that are suffering the most. It's like, well, that's a good question, and Donald Trump has decided that he doesn't care at all about it. It always goes into a angry anti-Trump rant every time. The only thing they don't have policies. They have one stance, and it's Trump is evil and he's wrong and everything he does is Satan work, and like there's not one other thing that they ever consistently talk about. And everything's orchestrated by Trump. Everyone that likes Trump is being either brainwashed or is sucking up or is, whatever. It's always some kind of disingenuous, because they can't fathom the idea that people really like the guy, even though, I swear, I think there was a slight surprising situation that came out today, which we'll talk about this week. This is another one I'm going to save because after the information came out about the peace settlement in Israel and in Gaza, even people on leftist news organizations were having to admit, like, this really is a historic moment, a real turning point for the country. It's a watershed moment for the country. Like, all these things that were, they really, you could tell they're struggling, but they had to say, I have to be honest. It's because it would have been nice if you had to be honest all the time, but I'll take it when I can get it. So thank you for saying that. But unfortunately, that's not really the way that the ones in Congress react to this sort of thing. Instead, they act like pretty crazy girls here, huh? Pretty wild girl. Okay, well, let's see how this goes. Anyway, so going back to the media response. That's been the media response. But before that, like, I'm not even going to count that because leading up until now, there was no restraint. There was no hesitation. They wouldn't even admit that. They wouldn't even admit facts about the guy that killed Charlie Kirk. They kept insisting that the guy that shot up the ICE facility, no, he was actually a far-right extremist who was trying to kill the migrants instead of the ICE agents. They knew there was going to be X amount of migrants on the bus, and they really, really were running from them for their lives. And it's like, oh, okay, that was just like the most amazing kind of way to see everything playing out and be like, no one likes what you're doing. Nobody. Are you ever going to get that? No, you're not going to get that. There's people in D.C. who were celebrating and excited and happy about the fact that when he put the National Guard in and brought the troops in to secure Washington, D.C., crime went down. Most politicians were angry about him sending the National Guard in. And, well, this is where we're getting into the main crux. But before I get into the main crux of why I'm angry, let's just look at some of the spasms and the absolute spurgs in media and how they have been acting about this. And then some of the responses from some of the more conservative hosts about how irresponsible it is for them to be for them to disregard the fact so flippantly, like it's no problem whatsoever, it's just politics. Well, yeah, it was just politics for Charlie Kirk before he died, and it was just politics for Donald Trump before he got shot in the ear. And I really think that transformed that the monster that you hate so much is this one that you have rallied behind, calling an absolute fascist, evil Nazi piece of garbage that's going to deport everyone, including the Maryland man, Abrego Garcia. And it's like, I actually found out recently that he was brought back to the U.S. to help fix his wallpapers. Uh, but anyway, yeah. Uh, hmm. Anyway, let me pull up some of the examples I got of this because I don't want to be stuck on this forever. And there's a lot of stuff to get to, but there's one big main point. So let's start with. Oh wait, this is the wrong folder. Here we go. This is the right one. Here's a good one. This isn't got the media in it, but what is really interesting here is these have started to come out, and there's been a new revelation about the FBI and DOJ under the last administration, and what Merrick Garland and Jack Smith had been up to. And turns out that they had in cooperation with the FBI, and well, actually, no, this goes back further than that, I think. Although I think this step wasn't taken until the Biden administration, but several members of the Senate, all 8 in total, and all Republican, had been surveilled and had their phones tapped. Not tapped to listen to their phone calls, but tapped to see incoming and outgoing calls, the length of the phone calls, text messages they could see, and just yeah, actually, yeah, I can't even be 100% sure of all of that because we don't know if there's anything else they're hiding because they weren't the ones that told us this. This was something that was found out by, I think, younger FBI agent who was, he was a younger guy, and he was told to try and start cleaning up the office area and whatever. And he comes across this closet with freaking, oh boy, this closet in this bedroom with blood all over it, and it's yeah, it's not a pretty. He left me no other choice but to freaking get furious as hell. But anyway, so this is Senator Chuck Grassley revealing some information just before the information came out about the surveillance of certain senators. So let me pull this up really quick, and this delves into a specific FBI operation targeted at specific groups of people that should be and would normally be protected in the United States, but some of our guys just unfortunately were. So anyway, let's just get to the point. There are people complicit in it all over the Department of Justice and FBI. We have no idea what it is they were actually fishing for. Probably the only thing I can think of is just opposition research for the election. But it's not... Well, you know what? How about I just put the clip on and we'll just discuss it after it's done, or we'll kind of hit some points, but we'll discuss it after it's done for the main for the most part. We'll kind of this was called Operation Arctic Frost. They always have these names that sound so intense, like the one for the RussiaGate host, Operation Crossfire Hurricane. And then we have Operation Arctic Frost. It's like you guys are just once again these guys are fucking larpers. They're not serious about anything. So anyway, let me okay. Now we'll turn this on and we'll go over to oh, hold on. Now we'll go over to secondary one. So yeah, let's check this out. Oh, I missed.
At your nomination hearing, I made public records that whistleblowers provided me about Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost was the FBI case opened and approved by antitrust Trump FBI agent Tebow.
Oh,
Arctic Frost then became
that guy's name, by the way, Tim Tebow, comes up time and time and time again in these Trump administration investigations. That guy was, according to anybody that talked about him, he was this absolute freaking just office bully that just like had a higher rank than most people, knew it, and had no problem throwing it around and threatening people with it to get what he wanted or get people to fall in line with what he wanted them to do, and just a real character. It's that kind of guy is he's going places. Yeah, in the dirt. This one. I just realized something too. Anyway, sorry. Let me get back to the clip. I was trying to think of something that came out of that, but anyway, let's just get back to it.
Came Jack Smith's elector case against then Citizen Trump and now President Trump. These new records show that Arctic Frost was much broader than just an electoral matter. The case was expanded to Republican organizations. Some examples of the group that Ray FBI sought to place under political investigation included the Republican National Committee, Republican Attorney General's Association, and various Trump political groups. In total, 92 Republican targets, including Republican groups and Republican-linked individuals, were placed under investigative scope of Arctic Frost. On that political list was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and Department of Justice prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends and improperly investigate the entire Republican political apparatus.
I freaking love the way he put that, because this is really the best way to get the kind of first step into understanding what's going on here and what they're trying to convey to the American people when they talk about this stuff. This was not about just Donald Trump. They hate Trump, don't get me wrong, and they hate his guts. But Trump to them represents a bigger threat, because the thing is that when the MAGA movement really started and actually started gaining momentum to the point that now it is the dominant faction of the Republican Party, it was the first thing that ever came along in my lifetime, and as far as it seems like in terms of Democrats, the first thing they had ever seen in any of their lifetime either, that that they um, what do I get? Trying to get. So yeah, so the MAGA agenda was, it was a real populist move, and the Republican Party had never ever been a party that really had attracted a seriously, seriously large number of middle class and especially lower income families and individuals in the country, had most certainly never attracted minorities or young people in any large numbers. Um, it had been a party that had a very sort of stereotypical image that followed around with it until Donald Trump and MAGA came along. And when they lost the election and Hillary Clinton lost the election, that was the first time they really had to go and figure out, wow, something's wrong here. And in their absolute narcissistic inability to ever even one time consider it might be something that they're doing, of course they just started pointing fingers, and it's Trump, it's the Republicans, it's Catholics, it's pro-lifers, it's just all white people, it's just whoever it is, as long as it's not the Democrat Party and our trans ideology or our freaking DEI initiatives or our ridiculous freaking COVID policies. None of that can be possibly the explanation. It's got to be these evil Republicans for everything. They can't ever admit that they're wrong. So I think part of it is them convincing themselves, but also another part of it is that they just don't care. And they really, I mean, these people are so absolutely narcissistic. And I'm not kidding. They think they are better and smarter and more capable of being in control of the country than anybody else. They really do believe that. You can tell by the way that they approach any given sort of speech or topic, or their holier than thou way that they kind of speak about their own actions, and then they compare them to the way that people on the other side handle similar things, and they always have to find, these historical examples of things that went wrong. Like they'll always point back, Jim Crow, redlining, and it's like, okay, how about something that took place within the last 30 or 40 years? How about that? But they can't do that because that was never. They never had anything to do with politics on either side, except for maybe as a scare tactic on the left. It's not relevant. Meanwhile, in this day and age, if you're Asian or white, it's totally fine to judge you by your race if you're a college, because we need more students. And I hate this. I hate this line because it's like, we need more diversity. Okay, well, you're excluding a group of people in the name of diversity. How is that making it diverse? And then when it comes to DEI in the workforce, now it's even more dangerous because we were hearing, I don't know if you guys remember when these came out, the reports that was the FAA were trying to find air traffic controllers with any kind of identity that signifies a group that is marginalized in the country, including people with physical or mental disorders. Like, oh, wait, okay, and they specifically even mentioned blind people in this. Like, so wait a minute, you want blind people to be air traffic controllers? Now, I don't doubt there are some people that are amazingly skilled out there and are blind and are able to even do that. But if you're trying to tell me that you want to find candidates specifically that are blind to fill the roles of air traffic controllers because they're blind, you're basically saying, yeah, I want it to be more risky to be on a plane in the United States of America. Period. There's no other explanation for it other than, once again, virtue signaling to the radical lunatics, and maybe making it so that people that, because there's always a backhanded sort of like, alternative agenda in these kinds of things, sort of backhanded sort of hit smack to wealthy people who are able to take the airports to different locations on a regular basis, that are able to fly to all these places all over the country as part of work or whatever. They don't see those as people who are actually, but yeah, it's just like that's so unbelievable. And that's what I mean when I say, like, I don't want to abolish Congress, but my problem is that like I said, this is not the kind of functions that I don't think anybody could argue this is the kind of function that the founders had in mind when they came up with the legislative branch. Like, to not just be a check and balance measure put in place to make sure that they acted as a way to prevent the other branches of government from gaining too much power that was consolidated in that one branch. In this case, it's like the Democrats in this branch want to try and consolidate power in whatever branch they can get in control of, and it doesn't matter about anything else other than making sure that they can consolidate in that area where they can get control. And it's just so brazenly and blatantly obvious when you see it in action. And then when you hear the examples, this is the other part that gets me. I never hear any Democrat ever do anything but make proclamations, followed by maybe an anecdote if you're lucky, and then just a bunch of statements that are about the president. And that's it. And just nonstop, cycle after cycle, statement after statement. Nothing else. That's it. That's all you get. You don't need any more. That's enough. You're convinced, right? No, I'm not convinced. So as a follow-up to that, this is not, I didn't have time to clip this, but I think this is important to actually see this. So as I was just saying, this is what led to them deciding that, you know what, let's get these controversial Republicans in the Senate, and let's tap their phones and find out the communications that they're having with people based on our being able to what's the word? Are being able to pull the data about what's their activity on their mobile phones and their because it wasn't just their phones. There was multiple sources that were tapped as information gathering, and gathering information about elected officials, senators representing districts in all the states of the country. And the Republican side is being monitored by the federal law enforcement agency that is supposed to be out there going after the sex trafficking rings and the human and drug trafficking rings, the Mexican cartels, and widespread and debilitating disease, I guess. Looks like he's not in good shape, but he was like he. Well, anyway, thank you for that information. Anyway, so let me just play this part for you real quick. This is Senator Ron Johnson. I've talked about him. I love Senator Ron Johnson because of how blunt he is about everything. But he was one of the 8 senators that was being tapped by the FBI and DOJ for investigation, and this is the first time I think he spoke about it on television, at least spoke about it publicly. So here it is. Of course, there's not a whole lot of detail to discuss, but at least you can kind of illuminate the whole situation. So this is where they went. Oh, whoops.
A September 2023
you didn't miss
document
much. It
called
was just
Cast Assistance,
naming the people
which
on the
refers
list.
to the agency's Cellular Analysis Survey team. Joining me now is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, thanks so much for being here. You are one of those Republican senators that was being surveilled. You were briefed about this yesterday by the Deputy FBI Director, Dan Bongino. What have you learned? What can you tell us?
Good morning, Maria. Well, you know, in my 10 years of investigating the FBI, dating back to, the exoneration memo of James Comey for Hillary Clinton, the result of all those investigations, this doesn't surprise me. It should shock, it should outrage every American. Quite honestly, by now, it should be obvious to every American that it's not the Republicans that are a threat to our democracy. It's President Obama, it's President Biden, it's the radical leftists that have served and support them.
That's another thing too. When you really look at this, like, and people forget about this, but Edward Snowden was the one who was the first real super high profile whistleblower in such a long time. And when was that and why was that? That was during the Obama administration, and it was about the mass surveillance and collection of information of American citizens. And because of that, he had to flee the country. He was essentially chased down from country to country all over the world by CIA and every American DC appointed agency that could operate internationally to try and find him and bring him back to the United States to punish him for the evil doing of telling the American people what their government was doing to them. But those ideas only sprung up really seriously at that time because, we'll get into Obama not too long from now, but this is so clearly not really so anyway, I'm sorry, I thought I could have added to that, but anyway, let's get back to Ron Johnson.
This is outrageous what has happened. We did not learn much. I appreciate the fact that the director and Dan Bongino notified us of this and briefed us. What we know is that this isn't exactly like the partisans that remain in the Justice Department and the FBI are voluntarily coming forward and confessing their crimes. This just happened to surface when the individual who initially got these records in applying for recertification to this CAST team.
Oh, listen to this.
Listen, this is an accomplishment. Apparently proud of the fact that this particular agent subpoenaed 8 members of the Senate and 1 House member. So again,
So that's how they first were tipped off about what was going on here. Was one of the agents that actually was doing the surveillance was up for reauthorization for whatever whatever sort of clearances he's given by his way of operating as an FBI agent, and under lists of accomplishments for why reasons why he should be granted these extremely important powers that are very sensitive but incredibly important, he actually lists this. Like, it's something that should be proud of. You should be proud of, and people should be celebrating because it was so. And that's why it's so hard to really understand. Are these people so delusional? They think the American people are with them when they do this kind of shit? Because there are, but they're the same lunatic Antifa fags that are out there burning down the city and getting into freaking scuffles with police and ICE agents all day, and like, we're talking about incredibly violent anti-American protesters that at this point are now classified as domestic terrorist organization, as a domestic terrorist organization. And somebody actually brought this up, and I was glad they did, because as I was talking about in the last show, Antifa is not an American thing. It started in Europe, and it jumped to the United States much later. But regardless, it's easy to classify them as an international terrorist organization, which would be much easier to gain some approval from the places like the Supreme Court or anybody who would be anyone who would be anyway, I'll just play this for a little bit longer, but I just imagine that. Imagine, like, being so excited to put that on your resume that, yeah, I spied on about 8 Republican members of the Senate because they were saying things about Mayorkas and actually, I don't know exactly why, but I'm pretty sure I know exactly why. It's like Josh Hawley was on the list, and you remember Josh Hawley when he came down on Christopher Wray for saying he needed to leave a oversight hearing early because he had a plane to catch, and we found out the plane was the FBI plane that he was in control of, which could leave at any time, and the plane was going on vacation because he was taking his family out on vacation. So he had to leave that oversight hearing so fast because he was going on vacation with his family on the FBI jet that was at taxpayer-funded expense. This is the kind of... And then, the evil Trump accepted that plane from top. Yeah, that's so evil. It's so...
Either shows just a complete lack of knowledge on the part of that particular agent, or such a cavalier attitude inside the agencies that just no big deal of just totally violating the separation of powers here and surveilling members of Congress and busting that separation of powers. I mean, this is, again, it should shock, it should outrage every American. It'll probably shock and outrage about half of us. The other half are, again, just living in the daydream, quite honestly, but believing what Democrats tell them.
But I mean, it's unbelievable how the names that were being surveilled.
That's pretty much all I need to play to kind of get the gist of the situation, because I'll have more to say about this soon. But I'm kind of running down this list for a specific purpose, because the episode today is really, I'm trying to build to the climax, and trust me, I've got a serious important point to make at the end of this, because quite frankly, I've been I hate to say it, but I've been freaking pissed as hell at some of this stuff that I've been hearing and watching, and I can barely even get through it half the time anymore because of the combination of smug arrogance and ridiculously self-centered, narcissistic, absolutely, like, overly, inflated self-image beyond belief, combined with the most ludicrous, ridiculously low-level, basically never picked up a book about anything regarding the United States law in your life, giving takes on American law in front of millions of people, and somehow that's just that's just what you do, man. That's just what I do. No, that's what you do when you are convinced beyond any kind of rational discussion that you have all the answers and you know the motive behind everything that is going on, and you can easily make judgment about who's right and who's wrong based on your moral compass, and anybody that says otherwise is a traitor to the country. And that's where we're headed with the Democratic Party, and it's so hard to tell, but I don't really think it matters either way. It's just I can't tell whether it's out of malice or stupidity, but either one, it doesn't really matter. They're reaching such a dangerous point that either one's too bad. Either one's bad enough. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're so stupid or if you're this malicious. Both are leading only to a place of complete and total destruction and the erasure of this country, and at the bare minimum, the erasure of the country for what it was created to represent and what it was able to provide for its entire existence till now. And so anyway, so let's move on to a couple more things that are really, let's step it up a notch. Even let's get to some of the stuff that's really disturbing that's going on in the country, that everyone should be more than willing to condemn, that everyone should be 100% able to look at and say, yeah, that's just absolutely wrong. We don't have to go to Charlie Kirk again, obviously. We all know, well, anybody that actually has any kind of moral clarity whatsoever should be able to do this, but everybody should be able to condemn that. But how about well, how about this? How about oh, I hope I still have this clip. How about when you see what Antifa is capable of, when you hear people like they just had I'm so glad that President Trump did this too, because this was definitely a necessary thing to have happen. When you have people who are very familiar, the only people that are really familiar with Antifa in the country that don't belong to Antifa, people like Andy No and this girl who I just became aware of, who actually works directly with him. And because Andy is so recognizable to Antifa, he can't actually even go out and report on them anymore, or he'll, it's basically just like prison rules, beating on sight, basically. Not termination on sight, basically, where you're getting murdered on sight, although it could be going there too. But at this point, it's just too dangerous for him. I didn't even know that Andy actually moved out of the United States, and that's sad, man, because... but I mean, I can't blame him. He was working as a journalist to do his job and uncover, lawless organizations in the country. And as he did that, and people found out who he was, and he stuck in there a little too long, they put him in a hospital once, and then they put him in a hospital again, and then that was too much for him. He had to leave. And the second time, especially because he started actually getting, he had a brain hemorrhage, which was actually starting to bleed pretty badly, and He actually seems to downplay it when he talks about it. It was serious. It was very serious, and that's why I talked about before. In fact, I had a clip of it, and I hope it's in the footage of one of these, because honestly, it's incredible. But you can see exactly what I was talking about with the tactics of these absolute fucking cowards. How they look for the moment when someone is least expecting it, when they're the most vulnerable. They take a cheap shot, they take a sucker punch, and knock them off their balance. As soon as they get them to the ground, then they take that as the opportunity to just keep wailing on them. It's absolute cowardice. It's total and complete bitchy, pathetic, like actions of someone who has no right whatsoever to ever try to proclaim somebody else as being a tyrant or being abusive of their power or whatever. You show what you do when you have a modicum, a tiny smidgen of power. You don't go after those who most deserve it. You go after those most vulnerable, and then when they're even more vulnerable after you attack them, that's not enough. You have to attack them some more. Like when that guy that Andy talked about with Justin Peterson, that was a guy I went to school with, Jordan Peterson, have a guy on the ground and beat him down, and that wasn't enough. Some guy had to run up and kick his teeth in. And as he's lying on the ground, bleeding, crying, knowing that in extreme pain, knowing that he's had his teeth knocked out, and God knows, what he's got to do to not only, go through the medical processes of fixing the absolute brutal damage done, but then he's going to have to live the rest of his life in fear of going outside because he's going to be scared to death of some group of ridiculous teenage LARPers or young adults who have the IQ of a 4-year-old running around pretending like they're out to save the world by beating up Republicans and starting farms in the parks of Seattle. Like it is just a joke, or it would be if it wasn't so fucking serious. So let's explore this rabbit hole a little bit more with not just what Antifa's doing, but what the elected officials are doing in response. And this is where we really start getting into the egregious shit. So let's see, where was well, here, how about a little palate cleanser first? We'll show you. We'll go on with this, and this is a good representation of these tough guys that are out there bringing it to the fascists that are out there threatening all these poor marginalized communities and stuff. This clip didn't save. Wait, hold on. I may have the original. Wait, I think there's 2 of them. Oh, well, whoops. Or maybe not. Oh no, if I lost this, I'm gonna be really depressed. Yeah. Oh, yeah, here we go. I do have the original. I don't know why the edit didn't work. Because I just trimmed this down basically to just kind of illustrate the point of what I'm talking about. Why I call these guys Antifa fags. Why I call these guys LARPing little wannabe wannabe shock troops, and like compared to like Antifa Europe, these guys are like they're 8-year-old kids that are out like, I want to be Antifa too. And so they go out there and they do shit like this, and then when they end up in a situation that's real, this is what happens. But it's just to illustrate that, like, they're dangerous as hell, but this is who they are, and it makes it even worse because it's like these guys aren't going to do shit until they get into a point where they have power in numbers or some kind of weapon that equalizes the situation on their behalf. Not doesn't equalize it, tilts the scales in their favor in some type of physical altercation, and then they're gonna be walking around acting like they're the big tough guys in the area, and that. Okay, hold on, let me see. Oh, actually, this is actually a good anecdote at the beginning. Okay, here we go. This should be just about right. So this is Tim Pool, not just talking about this guy, but talking about the mentality of the juvenile mentality of Antifa, and this is part of why I describe them the way that I do, because I'm not kidding when I talk about the park thing. That was something that was also discussed with Jordan and Andy when they were talking about their idea. They literally were trying to create a farm in a park in the center of Seattle. When, like I said, no one in the group knew anything about farming. No one in the group knew anything about agriculture. No one in the group knew anything about the conditions necessary to grow crops. They just thought you take any old dirt and you just start planting seeds in it, and yeah, you'll grow something. I mean, like, this is the level they're operating on, and that's why, like, for all the talk of how we need to we need to glorify the workers in the country. It's like, yeah, we do, especially those that make our food and those that are responsible for producing life-saving medications and life-saving treatments on people. Like, because sure as hell your ass isn't fucking gonna ever be able to do anything close to that important in your whole freaking life. Instead, you're just gonna destroy a bunch of shit and say that, yeah, this is to bring down the tyranny. So let's see just what the actual core of these people is like, and the extent of their conviction, the extent of their knowledge, and what they're really like when the doors close and the cops have them busted on something. It's so telling. Anyway, let's check this out.
These thugs are much weaker than they pretend to be. I want to make sure you genuinely understand this. When he says they're much weaker than they pretend to be, they're playing games. I'm not exaggerating.
What I'm talking about. Yeah.
These are young people who don't know what the real world is like. They don't know where butter comes from. I legit, one of my favorite stories is arguing on Twitter once with these socialists, and I was trying to explain to them economics. And I said, okay, let's talk about the grocery. They're like, grocery stores should give free food to people. And I said, where does the milk come from? And I kid you not, the dude went from the grocery store. And I said, no, where does the grocery store get the milk? And he goes, what do you mean the milk is at the grocery store? And I went, Lord, help us. These people are cognitively deficient and they vote.
This is actually kind of funny too, because there was something similar I heard, or I can't remember where I actually heard this, or geez, what was it in reference to? Well, it brings me back to the whole discussion that had been talked about. There are several people that kind of use the analogy, and it was mostly on Fox News circles, but but there were several people that were talking about it, and I loved the analogy because it's perfect, and it kind of shatters the idea of the whole leftist utopia, because the argument was, or the sort of point was, there's not one single human being on Earth on their own that has the capability to produce something as basic or simple as a pencil. Like, they just can't do it. There's too much that goes into it. There's too many things you need. You have to have the right kind of machinery, the right kind of materials. There's all kinds. The materials come from all over the world. They have to be shipped to you. They have to be. You couldn't be someone who did all of the work yourself to build it, and then make a pencil. And yet, we have them, and they are so common that we could lose a whole bag of dollar store pencils and be like, oh well, I'll go get another one. And that's how far we've come in as a species, that something like that can be something we can completely just lose and be like, oh well, no worries. And yet, too many people just look at it like, yeah, it's a pencil. Who gives a shit? It's just a pencil. And I'm not trying to be, like over dramatic here about it or anything. It's just telling that some people just don't get the concept of, no matter how much they might proclaim, once again, this strong devotion to making sure that the lowest among us are able to succeed and achieve the American dream. It's like, no, you want the lowest among us to be given a bunch of free shit and live without having to do any work. That's what you want. You couldn't care less. And it goes back to the I think it was the description of Karl Marx. It was like he had no real interest in helping the poor. He didn't give a shit about the poor. He just hated the rich because he was jealous as hell. I've talked about that on the show before, but it's true. It's absolutely true. He had no real interest in helping uplift poor people. He just wanted to tear down as many rich people as he could because he thought that they were responsible for making him look like he wasn't worth as much as they were, and he was so much more intelligent and far more sophisticated in every way. It's like, man, wow, you're incredibly insecure. Damn. Oh no. Anyway, so let me get back to this now. I'm sorry.
Let me show you this picture. I think, actually, do I have it here? There you go. There he is. Look at him. I'll show you the video. This is an obese, young, and this is wild.
These are the guys who are going to take down ICE and take down the FBI and take down, yeah.
Excuse me. Here's him getting arrested right now. You can see this is the day before when he was splashing red paint. You can see the red paint. They got him. There he goes. There he go. Oh, there he is. He's shaking. Look at him. He's terrified. We need this. We need this video. We need this enforcement. Look at that.
Absolutely.
Let me go back to Bill's post. Absolutely. Look at this. This is insane. You know why we need this? I don't think this dude should go to prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah, no.
But he needed this wake-up call. For too long, law enforcement, conservatives let these people run rampant, LARPing in the streets. It means live action role play.
He's using my words now. No, I've noticed that a lot lately. I've watched so many shows, and people are talk about LARPers, and people talk about. I mean, I've heard so many times where I've said something, and then like in less than 10 seconds, the host is using the exact same terms, and I'm like, "You son of a bitch!" But Tim's absolutely right. Tim's absolutely right. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. It's not just this situation. There's a much bigger problem here. There's a much bigger problem here, and I'm about to show you exactly what that is, because despite the fact that these people absolutely do need to be shown, and law enforcement has been essentially prevented from doing their job and putting the fear of God into these pieces of shit, and letting them sit there and quiver and piss their pants for a little bit, and then maybe, okay, you can go. You're too pathetic. We're not going to throw you in jail. Just knock it off, you stupid idiot. But then we get shit like this. We get shit like the Chicago mayor, who actually will come out and make some kind of bullshit statement like this about ICE and about law enforcement and about the FBI. And because people don't know the full extent of the situation, they'll listen to this horse shit and actually think that, wow, yeah, good on Mayor Johnson. He's doing what needs to be done. And no, he's not. He's doing the opposite of that. But listen to this fucking idiot speak. Listen to this fucking moron talk. And bear in mind, Lori Lightfoot, didn't like her at all. She was a terrible, terrible fucking mayor. But I don't know. I don't know if she would have been this stupid. It's very possible. But I would have to see it to believe it, because this is beyond all rationale. Oh no. See, I was having trouble finding a place to download YouTube videos. All the places I was going to before started screwing up. None of the sites would work. They all were like they all were giving me the same kind of message of like website unavailable. I was like, and I was like, damn, I can't find. And so I went looking for more, and then there was more of those, and I was like, damn, where the hell can I find anywhere to download this stuff? And then I finally found this site, like, oh, this will work, and I didn't even check, but all these are coming in, and they're completely just black screen, nothing. So hold on, I know I have another one of this one, because I just saw it a second ago. Man, this sucks. It also sucks too, because there's a Senator Johnson, and then there's a Mayor Johnson, and then there's a Speaker Johnson, and so it's hard to find always find the clips I'm looking for with all these Johnsons in here. There's too many Johnsons in here. But yeah, no. Jeez. Well, let me see if I can find. Oh, this might be the one that has, because this also has another winner in it that is really, really known for bringing down the temperature. This might be a good one. And if not this one, then I swear to God, regardless, I will bring up a clip that will work with you guys, because this is something you got to see. It's too important for this one, because this is coming from the mayor of a city with consistently one of the highest rates of murder in the country. And when Trump offers to send in federal law enforcement and the National Guard and have the assistance of federal resources on the ground to help you get control of your city, rather than thanking the president for helping you do that, you get angry, you accuse him of abusing his office, and you use it as a platform to advance the leftist talking points of his authoritarian tendencies. It's so fucking stupid. And it's self-destructive, to be honest, because it's like, what do you think's going to happen to your city? You think it's going to turn out fine? You think this one should be it? Because it has Karen Bass, the fucking idiot from Southern California, who let the same thing happen to her city. But while she's an idiot, she doesn't have the same tendencies to come out and try to play the modern day Malcolm X character that's protecting the rights of minorities and black communities, and just fuck off. You don't. Once again, you don't care about any of these people. You don't care about black people. You don't care about the residents of Chicago. You care about your next election campaign. That's all you care about. And you prove it by making sure that you can't get the benefit of federal resources that would pour into your city, that you know already, based on what happened in Washington, D.C., will be effective, will have results, will make sure that crime goes down while they're there. And instead of taking advantage of that, you instead would rather use it as your next bullet point against the president, because you hate his guts so much that justifies just about anything in the end. Okay, this isn't it. Damn. I thought for sure that was it. It might be in the same one here. Oh, actually, I think it might be in the same one here, because and you know what? If I have to look it up on YouTube right now, I'll look it up on YouTube right now, because this is just too important to pass up. I guess I'm gonna have to find it. Man, I'm sorry, you guys. I can't believe this. I have a source now that's working. So this was just a temporary one that I was using to kind of cut some videos while I was trying to hurry up and get everything together. So I have one that's working now. You know what? I'll just let it sit for now, and because I have something better to go to. Because and I'm already kind of taking up too much time, and this is getting. I think I've kind of. I think I've kind of described and shown quite a bit already. So let's move into the main event. So this is where I'm going to really start to highlight what I think is really becoming an issue. Let's start with which one was it? Now, I know this one works, so don't worry. I think it is. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, if you guys remember when Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, came out and spoke to all of the generals and the high-ranking military officials about how they're bringing standards back to not just the recruits, but to the leadership of the military. About how this was about discipline. This was about holding the military to the same standard, no matter what your rank, no matter what your race or gender. This is all about merit and has nothing to do with anything else. And we're not going to have a military anymore that's a bunch of slobby-looking, overweight, incredibly undisciplined, whiny cowards that are more concerned about diversity quotas than being able to complete the mission. So it was a great speech. It was a great speech to revive the spirit of what the military is actually supposed to be about. And the funniest part is that everybody that was arguing how terrible it was that he was using the DEI and he was demonizing these people and these people, they failed to mention the fact that that not one time during Biden's administration did the military ever even come close to hitting the recruitment numbers they were trying to hit for any branch of the military. Meanwhile, they've already hit their recruitment goals in pretty much every branch. Some, they hit them like in the middle of the summer or even earlier than that. And some of them are rising exponentially above their target for recruitment. And why is that? Well, because generally people, if they're signing up for something like the military, where you're signing up to get into life or death situations, you want to make sure that you're surrounded by people who are just as strong of conviction, devotion, loyalty, belief, and faith that that you have. And you don't want some young, dumb, naive girl who can't even do one push-up, let alone pull a fully grown man out of a combat zone who's bleeding to death and needs immediate medical treatment. Otherwise, he's going to die. I mean, that's the reality of warfare. So he's talking about the importance of having those standards back. And what happens? Well, of course, everybody gets all angry with him. And here's the people. Because the mainstream media, okay, yeah. But we're talking about mostly old people that kind of can't get out of the habit of believing that these people are in some way trustworthy, sadly. But look who pops their head up in these videos and look at the points that they make about how this was a terrible message to send and what's it going to do? And how it's only going to be a detrimental message to the people in the military. And just remember that. Just remember that for a little bit later, because it's just... Ugh. Anyway, this is where we're moving into the main event. Like I said, we're really going to get down to the serious part of this, because after this, I'll play the thing that really was the catalyst for this video. But anyway, let's check this one out. Here we go. Oh, and by the way, there's a fuzz sound during the part with Pete Hegseth in it. Sorry about that. That's just from the video that was filmed. That's not from me. It's not even from the whole clip. It's just from that segment. So, but anyway, here we go.
If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our Joint Force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that
So
already.
the reports are that the generals were disgusted and they resented being used as props by Donald Trump. Now, let me tell you why this matters so much. In every authoritarian system, there's a really important question. Does the dictator have the military on their side, or is the military against them? If the brass of the military is on your side, you can get away with almost anything. If the brass is laughing at you behind your back, if they don't respect you, if they believe you're wasting their time by flying them halfway around the world to rant about gold paper and have Hegseth say no fat people, you are weak. And what can really take down dictators and authoritarians is when they do not have the military behind them. So it's actually, as cartoonish as this was, as much of a waste of taxpayer money as it was, as pathetic as the entire thing was, it is critically important that it doesn't seem that Trump and Hegseth have the military brass behind them. And that actually should make us feel safer.
Let me let him finish.
The Department of War thing is pathetic. Hegseth keeps saying it like it's a magic spell. The Department of War, as if you repeat it enough, you're going to be strong. Trump did the same thing. He kept insisting, he's respected, we're respected, I won 2020, I'm really tough. But saying you're tough over and over again to people like the top brass of our military suggests to them that you're actually insecure, which Trump
We don't
did.
have a military full of Nordic pagans.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we have
I
had
can't
leaders who
take
either
this
refuse
piece
to
of
call
shit yet
BS and
until I deal with the last piece of shit. Okay, first of all, talk about, without even addressing any of his arguments, does that look like the kind of guy that really looks like he has a real good bead on the feelings of the military? Or does that look like the same stereotypical leftist scrawny little bitch that would sit there and complain about literally everything that anyone in the administration said about the military? Secondly, as I just said a minute ago, answer me this, David. If he is such a joke and all this is such an embarrassment, and they're laughing at him, why are the recruitment numbers through the fucking roof? If this was such a bad thing, why are a bunch of active and former and retired military and generals and veterans all coming out and saying, this is what the military should look like. This is what it's supposed to look like. Absolutely. This is what we're supposed to have happen. And if we are supposed to have a group of people that are here to protect us, David, why in the fuck would the generals and the people, making the strategies, the ones that need to be executed with pinpoint precision, like the one in Iran, why would they want something less than the best to execute those missions? Because if there is one tiny mishap, mission failure, potentially put not just the country, but the whole world at risk. And you're nitpicking about the fact that he's talking about we don't need fat people in the military? Sorry, David, not inclusive enough for you? He's fat phobic, is that what it is? Or is the problem really that you're just yet another fucking leftist lunatic who has to point out everything that Donald Trump does and it's all wrong? Even if you disagree with Trump, it should be very easy to look at this situation and go, you know what? That's a good idea. we need to have our military back to actually looking like a serious fucking fighting force again, and not like a bunch of fat oafish losers that are going to sooner run away from combat than they are ever engage in it, and know how to actually operate the fucking gun in their hand. Just saying, just, those are the kinds of things you might want to take into consideration before you put out some stupid fucking take like that. Which, by the way, if you had bothered to, actually watch the whole video, those generals you say that were making fun of him and talking shit about him behind his back and everything. Well, you know what happened? You guys can go and watch this. I didn't include it in here because I didn't want to get another video. This was like, I was trying to put all this stuff together, and like I said, there was enough problems as it is. But you can watch it. When you have an address from the Secretary, does it make you feel better if it's Secretary of Defense? It's so terrible to call it Secretary of War. And that's why we can't call, the same reason why we can't call them, what was it called? We can't refer to Islamic terrorism anymore. We just have to call it extremist terrorists or whatever the freaking ridiculous name for it. You might want to know the ideology that's behind the people that are doing the attacks, because it's not going to be Russian terrorists that are going to kill you if you draw a picture of Muhammad. You kind of want to know the details of the enemy that you're up against. So describing things as they are is kind of important. That's another thing, which I know liberals hate how things are, and they would rather just dream about how things should be in their wonderful land of sunshine and rainbows. But unfortunately, we have to live in this world, and we have to operate in it. And while you're off in fantasy land, if you're getting shot while you're in the middle of your dream of riding on the pink unicorn, unfortunately, you're still dying. Doesn't matter what fantasies were running through your head. And so if you aren't fit for service, I think it's much better for you and for the country if you just accept that and not consider it part of your stupid woke DEI experiment to make sure that we are representative. The military is not there to be representative. It's there to win fucking wars. It's there to put a boot up the ass of anybody that would hurt an American civilian. It's not there to make everybody feel included, inclusive. We're inclusive. We're representative. We're representative of all these cultures and all these people around the world. I swear, this one's more about this cunt. I'm sorry, I'm going in hard this time. Like I said, I am furious about especially this piece of garbage right here. But we'll get on to David at some point soon, because trust me, that guy has been squirming and writhing around and flipping out and going crazy nonstop, because he's got to always be constantly searching for any kind of excuse other than what is the obvious reality of the situation. And it's the same as the Democrats in the House and the Senate. It's the same as the Democrats in the FBI that planted themselves there to use their position to wage partisan politics, lawfare against anybody they didn't like in the opposition party, which of course Democrats still can't fucking come to terms with enough to just admit it. And this is what I mean by, like, you want to know what the real silver lining to all this is? The real, actual, probable results of this, and I'm hoping I'm right about this, but I really see this being the case, is that they're going through their death throes right now. They have no cards left to play. They have barely anything left in their hand. They're hoping to God that they have some kind of Hail Mary they can pull out at the end. They have nothing. Because all they do is complain. They complain, they complain, they complain, they complain. They never put forward one example of something that they would do that would be effective. Not once. There's not one thing they offer. Because whenever you ask them a question about something, they say it's terrible, and then they immediately move into Donald Trump. And it's like, I think it, I think was really ingenious, and I'm being serious about this too, because a lot of people might not recognize this. I think one thing that really broke them was when those Trump 2028 hats and shirts started popping up. I think they literally thought that was real and didn't understand that it was a complete troll, and that it was an absolute joke, and it was meant to piss them off, and it did. And rather than just like accept that, they still are flipping out. And they still think that he's going to try and run for another term, and he's going to be a dictator, and he's going to do this. It's like, no, he made those to piss you guys off. And you guys were pissed off. You guys are still pissed off. You guys actually think he's going to make a run for 2028. It's unbelievable. You actually think that was meant more than just to show the country what complete fucking idiots you are? No, that was what it was for. I can't believe I have to spell that out for anybody, but it's the truth. It's absolutely what it was. And the fact that you can't recognize that is just yet another reason why you're absolutely, completely ridiculous and batshit crazy when you start giving these summaries of what it is that you see in these situations. Because I can tell you, the reason you see this is the reason you're not in the military. And the reason you're not cut out for the military. That, and along with Kyle, the blonde new look where he looks like he's trying to look like In Sync or something. I don't know what the hell he's going for, but he just looks like a fucking moron. Even more so than before. And he sounds even worse. And this guy has been going on tear after tear, so I guess we might as well get into his take on it. Listen to what this idiot has to say. And if you thought that was bad, oh, brace yourselves, because here we go.
For standards, or leaders who felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. Simply put, if you do not meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession.
So now here's where he says, bro, fat shaming is definitely the way to go. Watch this.
It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary
That's the audio from the event that's fucked up, by the way.
of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
I find this shit so weird, right? Because you could have some brilliant military mastermind that understands like the chess of the battlefield, right? And he could be overweight. Like, why does that matter to you? It almost reminds me of like the Joe Rogan theory of medicine, where he's like, if that doctor's out of shape, I'm not fucking listening to them. I know better than them. Like that, and it's like a dumb guy's reaction to the world, right? Like if you don't.
Let me explain something to you, Kyle. You fucking idiot. Here's the thing. No. The thing is that when you are, I heard this argument made for something similar. It was this girl who was a total know-nothing, who was asking Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul, why it was that, well, if women can't be in combat roles, why can't they be in high-ranking positions still, like generals? They don't actually have to fight. They just come up with the strategies. And she said, just come up with the strategies, like it was, like this was some kind of simple thing that was just based on logic and rational ideas. It's like, no, you actually have to spend a very long amount of time in the military itself learning how to become a soldier and learning how military operates and the way that you know, the roles of each rank and the roles of each class of soldier and their different divisions and like everything about when you know everything there is to know about the military and you are an exemplary soldier and you get promoted to the rank of general of different a different rankings level of general, it's because you have proven that you are a highly reputable source of strategy and information when it comes to tactics and warfare psychology and like a host of other categories. So when you're at that level, you see, Kyle, there's a little thing that you need to get to that level, and it's called discipline. And people that have that kind of discipline typically aren't fat asses. They're not people that are so slobbish that they just, live in complete squalor with no freaking, like, no standards whatsoever for how they take care of themselves, how they take care of their living spaces, what they do to, inspire their family and the sort of values they instill on their children, all those things. Now, I'm sure that's something you consider to be an evil, right-wing way of life, but trust me. Actually, no, don't trust me. I don't give a fuck what you do. But anybody out there that actually cares, those are the kinds of people that I would guarantee you want in control of our fighting force, our young men, and some women, but mostly young men, who are going in on the front lines of combat to literally throw themselves at the enemy and don't know if they're going to make it out alive. And if you're the one in charge of that, you have to not only have discipline, but you have to have resolve. You have to have the resolve, and you have to have the strength of character to understand my responsibility is to keep these people alive, and everyone dead, that's someone on my shoulders. That is my fuck up. That is something I did wrong. That's a call that I made that was incorrect. And I'm responsible for giving the order that ended up with that soldier dead. And no, not just any washed up schlub from off the street can walk in, read a couple military books, and be like, man, I know military strategy. I could be a 4-star general. Sorry, Kyle. No, it's more than that. It's way more than that. And to downplay it shows how fucking stupid you are about the military. And it also shows how stupid you are about what Pete is saying here. I can't believe... I mean, we used to celebrate the culture of the military in war movies and actually present it for what it was. It's like, yes, it's brutal. Yes, it is. It's rough to watch. Yes, there's parts of it that are very, you would consider to be very inhumane. But in the situations that you're in, try calling that out as inhumane. When you're running into a battle with a group of people who are ready to, shank you with a bayonet, that try to tell me how inhumane it was when, the drill sergeant was yelling in your ear. That's military culture. That's what it's like to be a member of the armed forces. That's why we always say they're the best among us. They're willing to sacrifice everything to protect the country. And when you are not willing to do that, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be in a position of authority over those people. So go on. Keep telling us your stupid theory.
Looked the part. What the fuck, bro? It's like you could have some fat military genius, but no, I don't know. This is so babyish.
So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year.
Oh, they're going to love this, bro. Oh, they're so stupid. Imagine ordering a meeting with all the top generals and admirals and highest military officials, and then in that meeting, you start lecturing them and berating them, saying they're too fat, they're too out of shape, and now they got to do 2 physical tests per year. And these people are, people have been...
How was he berating them? He wasn't pointing out anybody in the room. He wasn't telling anybody specifically in the room they were too out of shape, they were too fat, they were too this, they were too that. He was saying that we've let standards slip. I'm seeing way too many people out there who have become way too laxed with their position, and that's going to change now. You're the one turning it around into a situation where, oh, he's just insulting the generals. No, he's reminding the generals what their purpose is. Because under your precious last president, nobody respected a damn thing about the military. They were too busy listening to Chairman of the Joint Chiefs talk about how he wanted to understand white rage. He should have been wanting to understand why the military didn't, why the actual enlisted men didn't want to fucking listen to a word he had to say, because he was too busy profiting from books he was writing about how evil Donald Trump was conspiring to take over the country in the insurrection on January 6th. It's pathetic. And this is why, so this is what I mean. And this is all leading to a very specific point, and you may see where I'm going with this already, but here we go.
In the fucking military 20 years, 30 years, whatever the fuck. You've gotten to the point where you're not doing the physical shit in the field. You're the brains of the operation.
No, if you're at
right?
that point, you're still doing the drills.
He's fucking scolding them, basically. You're making them hate you.
What in the fuck do you know, by the way? I mean, he's so fucking ignorant. And it's incredible. But anyway, so overall, what am I trying to say here? Well, we're going to watch one more, unfortunately, we're going to watch one more video. And this is the one that really made me want to do this, because this isn't about the military. This is about the riots in all the cities that I was talking about. And this is what he has to say, and this is where the maliciousness comes in, because there's misdirection, lies, gaslighting, straw men, and nothing but bad faith arguments. And as he's doing all this, there are people who are getting beaten and having mobs end up swarming around them, beating the hell out of them. People who are innocent getting arrested, while the people that are assaulting people are getting away scot-free. The police department is being ordered to stand down by their superiors. Who knows where those orders are coming down from, but that's what they're supposed to do. And just watch what he has to say about this. And of course, it's all because of Trump. And what does that mean? Well, it means that he's turning the federal law enforcement into his own personal Gestapo. He's Tim Walz in a younger, gayer form, if that was even possible. Well, maybe not gayer, because it's harder to get gayer than Tim Walz. But which, by the way, yeah, Tim Walz, the ideal soldier, the fat, limp-wristed idiot that was running around on stage like he was hopped up on Adderall all day. And I mean, those arguments are bad enough. But like I said, this is the one where I was like, I got to do it. And it's because of the fact that him and David Pakman and what's that freaking that fucking dumbass that's always on Piers Morgan, Brian Tyler Cohen, people like that always have the answers, yet never have any real answers. Like every answer they have is just some sort of smart ass remark against Donald Trump or Donald Trump supporters or conservatives or Catholics or pro-life people or anything like that. They just despise those people. Has nothing to do with like, you know, anything that would be actually, you know, helping people make a better life. It's just about airing their grievances and trying to take out all of their anger on the people they think are the most evil people out there. And the idea that Donald Trump and his administration are these evil masterminds trying to manipulate the National Guard into doing anything but arresting illegals and sending them back to their country of origin, and to act like that's not something that's fully within the rights of the President of the United States, especially if it's not being enforced by local law enforcement, well, then abso-fucking-lutely that's what he needs to do. But, you know, once again, these people have no interest in the actual law. They have no interest in the actual implication, the implementation of actual, real, on-the-ground street justice that is coming from the actual authority of the country. And I don't know if I'll get to this part in this episode because I know I'm going a long time with this, but this is the most important part. We'll just get through this and we'll call it good. But like I said, these people have millions of people that are subscribed to them. And this is my point. They pull in way more people than they do on MSNBC and on CNN and on all the ridiculous shows that we all poke fun at and look at and laugh at. But the people that watch these assholes are the ones that will make a video like the ones that came out right after Charlie Kirk was killed. The people that watch these pieces of garbage are the ones that will be dancing saying, "Hey, Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck." Like that's who watches these asswipes. And that's what they're essentially trying to foment. That's what they're hoping the results of their super important content is. When in actuality, all they're really doing is doing the same thing that the people on mainstream media are doing, and the people in Congress are doing, and the people in the positions of the highest power in the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, that's what they're doing. It's just that the people on the upper levels and people on YouTube and social media and TikTok, those are the ones that are the most effective at it. Way more effective than the people on MSNBC and CNN, because they know how to communicate to their audience of radicals in the right way to get them outraged and get them angry enough. Now, I'm not saying I want them pulled off, but what I am saying is it's time for people to start standing up and calling out the bullshit when they see it. Because this kind of shit, this is bullshit. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's a complete fucking fraud. And once again, I know I've got a tiny little channel. Nobody's gonna see me. Nobody's gonna be worried about what I have to say. Obviously, I've got no influence over anything. And I would never call myself an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be somebody who tells you guys my opinion and gives it to you straight about what I think about things. But this isn't even about what I think. This is about what's happening. And it's plain as day for anybody to see. They are just completely angry. They have no idea what to do about that, except for to just every day go out and do whatever they can to make themselves feel better about the fact that their policies aren't popular, their stances aren't popular, that what they advocate for, they have to hide the true intent of it before they present it, because if they did that, if they realize that, if people out there realize that, we're actually advocating for boys to, that are 16 to actually go in and have their dicks cut off. Yeah, we actually are advocating for that. Yeah. We actually are advocating for kids in elementary school to be able to go to their school library and check out books that show you how to perform a blowjob on another man if you are already male, and how to do it correctly. And like, that's what I mean. They have an agenda. They can't tell you what it is, and they can't be honest about it because it would sicken everybody. But make no mistake, that's what they want. They've had to backpedal, and then they can wheel it back forward, and that's, I've noticed that a lot lately. A lot of pushing it, and then kind of reeling it back just enough to be like, well, we didn't actually mean it. Yeah, I'm sure. Now just get the fuck out of my way. Anyway, what really just sickens me the most is how how absolutely completely off mark they are, how irresponsible and completely misguided everything they say is, yet they say it with such a huge amount of confidence in what they're saying with no fucking way to back it up. And that's why I say I don't want to take away their social media. I don't want them deplatformed. I don't want their free speech rights taken away. What I want is for people out there who have a channel and have a voice, and I'm doing it on my channel, which has nobody, and so there's not much to lose, obviously. But my point is that I'm doing it just to hopefully, in some case, make the appeal to somebody to start highlighting these people, because I see a lot of people highlighted. I see people like the Young Turks. Let's be honest, the Young Turks are so irrelevant at this point. Nobody looks at them seriously. Yeah, Anna was kind of quasi sounding like she was actually getting it for a while, and that didn't last long. Now she's back to full on lunatic that she always was. And Chang, don't even get me started. That guy's is the human form of bacon grease. But yeah, it's really not like any. It's really not like anybody would. Well, anyway, let's get on with this last one, because this is the one, like I said, just was like, that's it. We're doing this, and like I said, if if you agree, and because the thing is, like, I really don't like Destiny. I really don't like Destiny at all. I don't think anybody on the right likes Destiny in the slightest, and I think the majority of the left now really don't like Destiny at all either. But the one difference between people like Destiny and people like this, aside from when I played what was that character in Final Fantasy? Was it actually a... Oh, it was. Wow. Anyway, sorry. All right, let me get this going. Which, by the way, in the next episode, there's a lot more to go over, but it's not about this anymore. This is reserved for this one episode, and that's it. I was watching this and other creators, but Kyle and David are two people that are uniquely, and I'd say the third, even more than Brian Tyler Cohen. If you had to name three people that were some of the most destructive people on social media that I've ever heard speak, some of the most vile, vicious snakes and cowardly fucking liars I've ever heard in my life, David Pakman, Kyle Kuklinski, and Sam Cedar. And I'd argue even that Sam Cedar is probably the worst of them, because Sam Cedar He just was like, oh, jeez. Anyway, I'm sorry. I keep getting distracted. I keep seeing something else, and I was like, okay. But let me pull this up. Wait, hold on. Oh, and that was why I forgot about that. I couldn't see it, so I'll just play it now as I'm getting the video set up. But. Oh, wait, the volume's not on. Let me try that again, and I'll get this clip ready. But
how about This Book is Gay, a book containing instructions on the ins and outs of gay sex? Man, would I love my 13-year-old boy to walk into a library and find that on the bookshelf.
Yeah, so anyway, that was of course a classic, but oldie but a goodie nonetheless. So anyway, so this is where you see the worst side of him, because last video he was attempting to ascribe motive to the military. In this video, he's trying to ascribe motive to the entire right, and he is like every leftist scumbag, not talking about Antifa, not talking about anything Antifa does, not talking about how dangerous Antifa is, not talking about any of that, only talking about the evil right-wingers and the evil ICE agents, and that's it. So here we go, bottom of the barrel.
At the same time, the right is trying to pretend like there is this epidemic of left-wing terrorism in the country. In a 2-week time period, we've had 3 MAGA attacks. So you're probably thinking, well, what's the third? Breaking. Liberal South Carolina judge Diane Goodstein's home is burning to the ground after an explosion. SLED is investigating as arson and refer attack as Judge Goodstein has been receiving multiple threats. Her husband...
Okay. You notice how he introduced this story as another right-wing attack? As a third, quote-unquote, right-wing attack? Yeah. You know what he's considering as the 3 right-wing attacks? He's considering still the Charlie Kirk murder as one of them. So that's one that's obviously complete bullshit. Number 2, he's considering the ICE shooter who went to go kill ICE agents and wrote, what was it? Just kill ICE or remove ICE or whatever it was about ICE on the bullets, like destroy ICE. I can't remember. It was essentially not anything good about ICE. Writing that on the bullets, shooting into an ICE detention facility. Just happened to shoot at least 3 illegal immigrants, kill 2, and 1 survived. I've been struggling to really come to grips with the whole thing. But yeah, it's just it's unbelievable. And by the way, he comes out and he makes this statement, right? That this is another case of right-wing violence. So even if he was right about that, which of course he's not right about any of it. At the time he was reporting on this case, there had been no determination on the cause of the fire. Now, bear in mind that as he's blaming this on the right, that it would obviously entail that he's accusing right-wing criminals as arsonists that attacked this judge's home. And there's been nothing to come out to suggest it was arson, nothing to suggest it was politically motivated, other than they got death threats. You know how many people get death threats in this day and age? You know how many people, like literally, I'm so tired of that being used, because you can be an anonymous message board user of a board that has maybe 25 people on it and you'll get death threats. Now, you start getting death threats that are using things like your personal address, the name of your spouse, the name of your children, the school that they go to. Maybe I'll have some sympathy for you. But death threats on their own, I'm sorry, that means nothing. And as you'll come to find out, guess what? No signs of arson on this one. As a matter of fact, the judge wasn't even home when the house caught on fire. And you would think that if somebody was so angry at this judge for ruling against Trump and was trying to do something malicious to her, they would, at the bare minimum, because they spent the night in very... I smashed it. They'd be watching the whole time about what's going on in this judge's house with the new screws and et cetera, et cetera. And it was just like, no, it's not an investment. We're just paying him what he's supposed to be getting. Anyway, we'll go back to it. But geez, like that, we're already, we're already smooth sailing with nothing but bullshit, and we're gonna continue with it. So here we go.
Husband, a former state senator, is in the hospital. So this judge was targeted by Trump, by MAGA, because she made a decision that they didn't like. She was blocking all of the voter data from South Carolina from being turned over to the DOJ. She said, we're blocking that because no good is going to come from the feds getting all the state voting data. Because as you all know, they do ballot spoiling, ballot purging. They try to basically rig the numbers as much as they can to try to bias it in favor of Republicans. And so she just blocked them from getting any of the data, protecting the right to vote, protecting one person, one vote. Well, because of that, she became public enemy number one to MAGA. And this is the result. Look.
God, you don't give a fuck about one person, one vote, you stupid piece of shit. What do you think of ballot harvesting, Kyle?
You can hear this thing burning.
You can hear it burning.
Some of the families in the hospital now. A few weeks ago, one of Trump's top DOJ officials publicly targeted this judge. Today, the judge's home is on fire. So, Harmeet Dillon, this Justice Department civil rights will not stand for a state court judge's hasty nullification of our federal voting laws. I will allow nothing to stand in the way of our mandate to maintain clean voter rolls. One citizen, one vote.
That's his fucking evidence. Harmeet Dillon, constitutional attorney, challenging a judge's decision is proof that MAGA was targeting this judge and was ready to commit arson on her home, burn it to the ground, and in the process harm all of her family members, but not her. You know, call me crazy. Call me a conspiracy theorist, I guess. But you know, if I was somebody who was a MAGA extremist, I would have maybe gone off after I don't know, who was that old fart judge that was so super excited to be on camera all the time. He just always had that big shit-eating grin on his face. And as soon as James O'Keefe went to go talk to him in a gym, he couldn't help but talk so happily about himself, like, well, yeah. It needs to be done. It needs to be done for the good of the country. I don't know. Maybe I might have gone after that judge, or call me crazy, but you remember that guy Juan Merchan, whose daughter was receiving money based on the outcome of the case that her father was the judge of, that just happened to involve Donald Trump. And he found him guilty, really, by bypassing all precedent in the history of the United States judicial system by deciding, hey, jury, you can decide to make him guilty of a crime. You don't have to even agree on what that crime is, but yeah, as long as you all agree he's guilty of some crime, yeah, he's guilty. The most anti-Western, the most anti-American, European, the most anti-judicial since the fucking Magna Carta decision that's ever been made that was influenced by modern Western values in terms of our legal system. This guy goes against all of it by deciding, there doesn't have to be a unanimous decision on the crime as long as there's a unanimous decision on the guilt, which is pretty fucking disgusting. And they wouldn't go after that judge either. They're going to go after this judge that did what again exactly? Oh, yeah, it wouldn't let him see voter rolls. Are you fucking kidding me? You're a sociopath, Kyle. You're a lunatic. You talk about all these evil things that have been done lately. They're all by your fucking side. And they're all gleefully cheered on by you. I'm sorry, but like I said, this kind of thing is moving away from. I'm starting to be convinced, and I hope you guys don't think I'm too extreme for saying this, because, like I said, I'm not trying to incite anything. I'm just saying that this is moving very, very, very rapidly away from just giving an opinion, just reporting on a story completely partisan and absolutely biased to one side, and moving into the territory very quickly of incitement. I mean, we're very, very rapidly getting to the point of incitement with somebody who has over 2 million subscribers. Far better reach than MSNBC gets on any given night with their fucking primetime audience. Now, I know Kyle's show isn't exactly what it was before, and, he doesn't really get quite the viewership he used to back in the day. But here's the thing. You get enough people believing the stupid shit that comes out of the left, and they're going to maybe, just maybe, come back to somebody that they used to watch that, yeah, I remember that guy. He was he had some pretty good ideas, and he actually seemed to be pretty well-versed when it came to how to fight back against people who were trying to take control of the government and doing it through means that weren't really legal. We should check him out again. And then they see some fucking bullshit like this. I had one other video, but quite honestly, I'm not going to play it. He is so stupid that he is trying to talk about how ICE agents are evil, and the rationale is because he has some cameras that are in front of this ICE facility in the middle of the day where there's nothing but a bunch of picketers. The problem is they were talking about Portland, Oregon, and that was a scene out of Chicago before the riots even picked up there. And the problem in the second part was it was during the day when basically everybody that's ever said anything about Antifa and when they actually operate knows, just like with the Chaz and the Chop, just like with the Summer of Love, just like with the Rittenhouse thing, just like all that. They operate at night. That's why they wear black bloc. That's why they wear masks. That's why they run around in their faggy little LARPing outfits, which, by the way, there's all kinds of new information coming out, and thank God there is some good information coming out, which, by the way, in case you haven't heard, if you ever see any photos of Antifa and their little circle jerks gathered, and you see a handful of people in the crowd that are wearing neon green helmets, you see this a little bit. These are the attorneys. These are the attorneys that have been prepared for these fucks, that are embedded among them and are designated with those sorts of hats to make sure that if anybody is on the scene, obviously it's not going to be something that they're going to be able to do in every case right away, but you know what they're going to do? They're going to pull out their phone and they're going to start recording everything with the specific intent to try to frame it exactly in the most harming light they possibly can for the law enforcement agents and for anyone who supports the deportation. And they're going to try and paint the picture as the guy who is arrested or the girl that's arrested as just some poor innocent victim of an authoritarian police force that's gone out of control. No, the only force that's out of control is the left blocking. Like, I can't believe that I have to say this, but you think you're living in an authoritarian country and under a dictator when you have an agency that you claim is so heartless and evil and don't care about anything that happens to the people that are standing in the way, as long as they are able to get rid of people that are just seeking a better life. Like, yeah, we've heard it a million times. Save us your fucking bullshit tears. And let's hear what actually is going on here. There's a group of a bunch of freaking LARPers standing in front of an ice truck blocking them from going anywhere. The other day, they did it in front of an ambulance. God knows if the person they were going to try and save the life of actually managed to get out alive. But putting that aside, they keep blocking all these vehicles. You think if we lived in a government that was totalitarian, that was really trying to take over and get rid of any dissidents, that they wouldn't just ram through those people? They wouldn't just floor it? Because the sheriff in Broward County in Florida said, try to block our agents in their vehicles. You're going to be ending up in a box or whatever the hell he said. It was basically like, if you're there to protest, fine. If you're there to stand in our way, to impede us, to do anything, to hurt us, anything like that, you're going to be in deep shit. And that's what the exact kind of message law enforcement needs to be passing along. Unfortunately, though, when you hear everybody on the left start mashing these stories together and coming to some conclusion based with no evidence, once again, what did he put forward other than the fact that Harmeet Dillon said that this was a terrible decision and we need to overturn it? That's the call to action to burn down her home, huh? Meanwhile, once again, we got the guy out there who was actually fucking put in front of a court time after time after time, threatening to put him in jail, threatening to take him off the ballot. They actually did try to take him off the ballot in 2 states. And everything is so anti-common sense. Everything is so upside down. And I can't help but look at this and go, it's so backwards and ironic, but they don't care. And I can't figure it out. I can't figure out what's going on. It never occurs to them that the very facts that they're talking about, that they're so fixated on as these terrible signs of an authoritarian leader, are disproven by the exact events they're trying to report on. It's so stupid. And yet they're willing to come out and announce all this stuff to the world, make complete fools out of themselves. And you know what else is interesting too? I'll leave it on this. It's always about everything he's done right. Can't ever grant him one thing, even if it's the thing that you've been just nonstop complaining about since before he was president. So, what am I talking about? For the first time since it broke out, it looks like we might finally have a war finishing. The war in Gaza and Israel might finally be coming to a close, might finally be seeing the hostages returned and Hamas disband, and the countries sign a peace treaty, and the enforcement mechanism being the other Arab nations in the area that are now finally coming out and declaring they have no allegiance, because the same reason why they didn't let them into Egypt, the same reason why they didn't let them into any of the other neighboring countries, because they don't want these people there, because they know it's infested with radicals, and the radicals know how to blend in with the rest of the population. And if we let them in, we're going to start just inviting in trouble. And it's a real mess it's a real mess of a situation. And out of nowhere, Hail Mary pass, and like I said, we're not 100% sure this is going to go through. ISIS, I keep doing that. Hamas, not exactly the most trustworthy group of people, but if for no other reason than self-preservation and the ability to flee and escape persecution being laid on the table, if for no other reason than that, they get onto this deal, and we see the war finished and nobody else dying in Gaza or Israel, and the hostages all returned back home. I don't see how anybody who has been constantly advocating for peace would see that as a loss, unless you really didn't want peace, unless you really didn't really care about peace, unless your actual message really was, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, aka we want to wipe out every Jew in this area, and until then we're not going to be happy. Unless that was your actual message, the one that you claim time and time again. No, that's not what we're saying, that's not what we want, no, that's not what we're advocating for. Maybe it was, and maybe what Kyle's advocating for really is going back to that old defund the police narrative. Maybe it really is that cashless bail is important, and that jails are super terrible, evil places, and we shouldn't be putting people there. Doesn't matter what they do, they shouldn't put people there. Oh, and maybe that Luigi Mangione guy, maybe he's a real good guy, and a real good-looking guy too. So we get the Taylor Lorenzes around the world to fantasize about fucking him. These people are sick, twisted, and I have no interest in trying to... I don't even have any interest anymore in trying to figure out why it is they have this ridiculous belief they have. I don't care. The evidence is staring everybody in the face as to why they're wrong. And they can keep spouting it all they want. I just am sick and tired of people getting influenced enough, hearing that absolutely dog shit explanation, and being convinced enough by it to buy into the stupid left-wing talking points that he constantly uses. And maybe this guy being like, you know what, I'm going to try and go do the same thing too. And then you have yet another radical out on the streets, burning down cop cars, burning down police precincts, burning down courthouses, trying to kill trying to kill diplomats, trying to kill fucking politicians, trying to kill any, it's just... And of course, they don't believe the rhetoric's leading to that. They believe Donald Trump's rhetoric is leading to terrible things, but But there's we're preaching about how we need to stop the authoritarianism, unless of course you're an idiot and there is no authoritarian government and you're just riling people up because you're still so fucking butthurt that your precious Kamala Harris presidential campaign failed and you didn't get your preferred candidate, and the Obama coalition was based on a lie and frauds and tyrants and cheats and a bunch of people that have no interest in anyone but themselves. And so when you have a foundation like that, chances are the structure is going to fail. So in the end, I guess it's just not going to work out. Time to move on. And by the way, fuck you, Kyle. And normally I wouldn't even say this, but I have no issue in taking on any of these ideas. They're stupid. You could be a toddler and freaking, maybe not a toddler. Toddlers, well, actually, definitely a toddler. They're not gonna, they're gonna beat everybody. But I mean, like this is like middle school political science level argumentation. This is pathetic. There's nothing in this that is of any substance that's realistic whatsoever. And this is another thing. I'll leave it at this. You notice how when conservatives give an argument, they lay out reasons. They actually lay out rationale. They lay out reasonings. They'll talk about history. They'll talk about what's happened before. They'll talk about what evidence they have on hand right now. They'll talk about things that they've seen in the past and trends that have led in certain directions. They'll bring all those things up. And then in the end, they'll explain why they came to the conclusion they came to. Democrats don't do that. Instead, they rely on everything that they need to say and they need to prove being balanced on this wobbly little stand of Donald Trump is evil. And so as long as you can balance it on that fucking thing, then everything you say is justified. It's just like there's nothing at all that's done that's based in any kind of reality other than this seething hatred for Donald Trump. They hate his administration. They hate what he's done, no matter how successful it is, no matter how unsuccessful it is. And it's like you see that with what they're doing in the Senate. You see how that's happening by what's happening in the Middle East. And you see by people like this and David Pakman how it's happening here too. And people that have no idea what's going on believe morons like this, and they think, I've got to get my black bloc on and go fight power. Unfortunately, you're not fighting the power. Unfortunately, you're not fighting anything that you think you're fighting. You're fighting the average American citizen who's trying to just live their daily life. And then you're destroying their businesses, and you're destroying their fucking livelihoods, and you're ruining their ability to feel safe in their own city. They can't even go outside without feeling like they're going to get attacked or mugged. And you'd rather have that than just let the police come in and do their job. It's the modern Democrat Party, as best I can describe it. And it's encapsulated perfectly by Kyle. So I guess, Kyle, if you can keep doing what you're doing, keep doing it. But I have to say, some people can debate and some people can't. Some people can make good arguments and some people can't. Maybe if you want to report on things that you can actually justify and come up with some, actual believable reason for, and not just the typical absolutely redundant bullshit standard of Donald Trump's a fascist. Like, we've heard that for like 10 fucking years now. Which, a large chunk of that was after he left the office, which, Yes, he left the office. He left. Which, once again, memeing on the left by throwing out a Donald Trump 2028 hat and laughing at how dumb they are when they get so fucking triggered over that. I'm sorry, that's not cause to flip out and say he's overthrowing democracy. No, he's making you look like idiots. So keep that part up. And I'll keep laughing about that. And hopefully I can do that more than I have to listen to this psychotic babble about how he's overthrowing democracy. But whatever you do, it's not just him. Like I said, Sam Cedar, David Pakman, Brian Tyler Cohen, all these people acting in absolute bad faith to put forward horrible arguments that can't stand up to scrutiny, that have no evidence for them whatsoever. And most of the time they rush to the mic to report on them before any facts come out anyway, and they're proven wrong within 12 hours. And what do you hear about it after that? Not one word. But you think anybody else out there is inspired to go look into the news story and the events afterward? No, they've just been told by Kyle that this is exactly what happened. So we need to fight back. That's why I say this is moving into the area of incitement, because you're going to... I mean, it's happened before. The Young Turks. Somebody who was a seriously hardcore Young Turks fan. I'm not blaming the Young Turks for this. I'm just saying the rhetoric itself led to somebody going out there and killing somebody because they thought they were transphobic bigots. And so, you have to go back to that word I used a long time ago, which was discipline. You have to have some kind of discipline when you have that kind of audience. And if you don't, fine, I'm not going to take your free speech rights away. But like I said, I will put forth every counter argument I can find towards your bullshit statements and show anybody who will listen to me why it is that you're full of shit. And that's all I have to say. I'm tired of talking about this. It's really getting me freaking pissed off. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It was a fun day back, at least. I'm really going to try and make it tomorrow because this was, like I said, the first part of a series of videos I had planned, but there's so much information coming out, it's hard to plan anything at this point. So I'll see what's popping tomorrow, I'll see what's going on, and I'll plan the show accordingly around that, hopefully. But most especially, thank you for all you guys who are returning after I've been gone for so long. Like I said, I know I end up completely and totally irresponsible, unbelievable in terms of what I say, because no matter how much I want to actually make it on, maybe I can't, or something comes up that gets in the way and I don't make it or whatever. But I am trying my best. I really am, because this show really means a lot to me. And once again, I know I have no real, I don't have a big subscriber count. I don't have a huge fan base. I don't have a ton of people watching. I've never made any money from super chats, donations, or anything else yet. I'd love to, but until then, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I still am really enjoying it. And more than anything else, I just am glad that people are willing to spend their time listening to what I have to say. So thank you guys very much for doing that. And until the next time I'm on, I'll see you at that point. Until then, take care of yourselves, have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Oh, and enjoy the new outro.
It speaks to that lit the fuse. It lit it by the spark that it provided. A fuse of fury was an innocent interaction that turned into a terrible, terrible headline allegation.